Hi everyone and welcome along. I think we are just about ready to maybe think about some autumn projects, so I thought I'd ease us in gently with some really simple autumn leaves. So grab your paints and let's get started. For simple autumn leaves, this is a wonderful opportunity to do some nice colour blends. So I've just woken up all the nice sort of warm autumnal colours in my palette, and we are going to use the beauty of watercolour blends to create some really nice leaf shapes. And these leaves will be simple, but they will be effective. So I'm just going to fill the page really. So I'm going to begin with a really simple sort of smooth-sided leaf, and when you're doing autumnal colour blend leaves, you just want to start with the lightest colour first. So I've got some Cadmium Yellow, size 2 brush, and I am creating a simple smooth-sided leaf shape with a fairly sort of dilute amount of colour. It's not sort of waterlogged, it's wet but not over the top. And I'm going to take some Cadmium Orange and I'm going to just dab that around the edges, and you can see that we get a nice, very, very gentle blend there. Very subtle, and as it dries we'll notice even more of a nice sort of smooth colour change. But what I am going to do is I'm going to add a stem. Now it's so subtle and small, the colour blend there, but what's going to happen is as I paint more leaves, I'm just going to show you how we can sort of build on the whole sort of colour blending and get really beautiful bleeds and things as we go through. So let's paint another leaf. So this time I'm going to paint one that's got a bit more of a texture, and that is by using my brush to create a ridged outside to the leaf just by using rough brush strokes like that. And now I'm going to send colour up the middle and just watch it bleed out, and also a little bit of that brown. Now the most successful watercolour blends are when you get this sort of wonderful balance of the right amount of water, the right amount of colour, and you just let it alone to itself to bleed. Sometimes you might want to just help sort of shape the edges like that. I just want to do a little bit more, but really you want to leave it alone. You don't want to be getting your brush in there trying to poke it along, because it will start to muddy the colours and you'll end up with a really dull flat shape. So the key thing is, the more you practice is the faster you will become at creating these shapes. And if you need to draw them in first, that's absolutely fine, but the most important thing is to start with a brush that's not too small. So the size 2 brush is brilliant because it gives you a nice amount of control, but it also allows you to cover quite a large area. Okay, so now I'm going to try painting a bit more of an oak leaf, and this leaf's got quite a few sort of different loopy, lumpy edges and shapes. And so what I'm going to do this time is, instead of painting the whole leaf in one go and then adding colour, I'm going to be adding bits of colour to it as I go. So I've got my Cadmium Yellow ready. I've also got a nice Sap Green and Lemon Yellow mix, which I'm going to begin with. Okay, so I'm going to start at the top with a loop, and I'm going to quickly add 2 more. This is starting to form the top of my leaf. Now I'm going to add in to the edges some Cadmium Orange. I'm cleaning off my brush each time, Okay, so now I'm back to my Sap Green, able to start to build the body of this leaf shape, working really nice and fast, but I've also managed to get a bit of the cadmium orange in there. Just keep cleaning off your brush. Now I'm starting to think about how the leaf will start to taper in. Cleaning off the brush again, cadmium orange again, and the last little bits. I think a lot of people admire the beauty of these watercolour autumn leaves, but wonder how on earth you can get from top to bottom with lots of nice smooth blends, whilst also managing to get it all done in one go. So there you go. Now all of these leaves at this point have got no kind of leaf line or leaf detail on them, and that is because that needs to be layered on once the leaf has dried. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to paint in a few more leaf shapes, and then we'll let them dry and we'll add some detail afterwards. Okay, so here's another nice tip for painting some leaves with a nice sort of textured edge. I've got a smooth sided leaf shape, and then almost immediately I'm going to take a different colour, quite a concentrated colour, and just zigzag down the outside, making sure that the colour very much touches the wet edge of that inner shape, but makes a lovely crisp edge on the outer side. So that's the beauty of painting autumn leaves, is they can just be done in a number of ways. So let's have a little go at one of these leaves on a stem. So I'm going to take some red, cadmium red, and just paint in some nice wet smooth sided leaves, little sort of ovals. Again, if you wanted to draw in the lines, you could absolutely do that. And then I'm going to take some concentrated burnt sienna, and just give it a little bit of that, but we could always give it just a little extra, couldn't we? So essentially you're painting in a shape quite nice and wet, then moving fast to give it firstly an extra bit of autumnal colour change, as well as a stem. And then we've got the slightly more sort of complex shapes like the maple leaf, where I like to sort of create the shape as I go. So nice wet colour, and I'm going to sort of build up a central maple leaf, spiky leaf, and what's quite cool is we can actually start adding other colours as well as red. Start getting lots of different colours in there, and whilst it's all still wet, we can be really playing around with the shape I'm using quite a small brush, so it is important that I work as fast as I can, but because I'm using quite a lot of water, it's absolutely fine. So now starting to come down into the more of the body of the leaf. So I've found my sort of central point. We'll do one last little leaf just like this one. I haven't shown you how to do that one yet. So we start with a nice broad sort of fanned out shape with a little bit of the green, and then I'm going to paint in 2 pairs of mirrored leaf shapes. Get in a little bit of green there as well. And then if you can always just switch brushes down if you get to a point where you want a bit more control if you're doing smaller shapes, and also because I want now to join these 3 up. And just do a little bit of green for everybody. Right, I think I'm just going to fill the page and then we're going to do some leaf detail. For leaf detail, it's really important that your leaves have completely dried 100% and that you painted in a nice and dilute style. Firstly, to allow for your colours to do a really nice blend, but secondly, so that any kind of detail you do over the top has a chance of showing up. So what I'm doing is I'm just mixing up I've got some burnt sienna here, and then I've also got some Paynes Grey. I don't want it to be too dark, but it's useful to have that extra intensity. Another really good colour for autumn leaf detail is Alizarin Crimson, because it's that lovely deep purpley red that is perfect if you've got a red leaf that wants some detail. So I've got my size 4/10 brush, which is a really fantastic tiny detailed brush, and I'm going to just have a go at painting in some leaf detail, but I don't want to do too much. I'm not a big fan of doing too much, but if I just start with a lovely fine line like that, and then just some very simple lines that don't go out all the way to the edge, but just sort of bleed and blend into nothing. Well, they're not bleeding really, but they're just sort of disappearing off into nothing. And I also think it's quite fun if you don't actually give every single leaf you do too much detail, but it can be fun, and it can also help. So I've got a bit of the Paynes Grey mixed here, so I'm just adding it to the stem itself so it doesn't look completely alien. Just keep it nice and light, I think, is the most important thing, and try and make sure that the colour you're using for the leaf detail lines bears some relevance to the actual leaf itself. So I've got the Alizarin Crimson here, and I'm going to just send some up the stem there. And out the 5 points of the leaf. And it's very up to you really how far you take it. I like just keeping it fairly simple, like this. And there you have a lovely page full of bright and vibrant autumn leaves tossing about in the wind, whether you've added leaf detail or whether you've added just some really simple little lines up the middle, or if you've left them completely plain and just allowed the lovely bit of colour blend to be the main thing. These will be really fun on cards, in your journal, as just general doodles. I really hope you enjoy as the seasons change. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed that. And if you are desperate to get started with some seasonal projects, you can always look back at previous projects from last year. I want to say a massive thank you to my patrons for their support, because that support enables me to keep creating these videos that everyone can enjoy. And if you enjoyed it, then hit the like button and comment below to let me know how you're getting on. And of course, if you subscribe, then you'll never miss another video. Until next time, bye!